Welcome back to another edition of Higher Education Today. I'm your host, Steven Roy Goodman. I'm here in Tallinn, Estonia, where we're going to be speaking about monuments and whether or not we should explore and re-explore big monuments in public art around this country and around the world. And our guest today is Kirke Kangro, who's a sculptor and an installation artist. Welcome.
Thank you, Steve, for having me and inviting me.
Well, thank you for having me in your country. And maybe if we can start with monuments. Why should we explore and re-explore monuments? Is it necessary? Is it important?
I mean, monuments are those markers from history which should determine in many ways how we remember something or guide the way we even think about the future and, of course, the present. So definitely this is a very loaded element in our society, and the monuments are like little lighthouses which we can use for putting light onto some kind of event or attitude. It is very important that we would analyze what's around us constantly, I think.
Well, let's assume that a monument was built many, many years ago, and we're now re-exploring that monument from a contemporary lens. Is that reasonable to do that? Because presumably the monument was built X number of years ago.
Well, as we are here in Tallinn, in Estonia right now, then I can say that our landscape of monuments has been as rapidly and extremely changing as our history itself. We do have one quite old monument, 400 years old, from Livonian wartime, but actually the average age of Estonian monument is much lower than the one of our average age of Estonian men, for example. So it is, it's weird to think that monument is meant to be forever or somehow make it last till the end of the world for how we remember or who we remember actually. I can just bring some examples like the statue of Peter I on Freedom Square was up there for 12 years from 1910 till 1922. Then Estonian Kalevipoeg, epic figure from our epos, survived only 7 years from 1930 till 1950. Stalin's statue in Baltic Station was up for 8 years from 1950. And for example, Viktor Kingissepp, Estonian Bolshevik revolutionary and communist leader, could only be in Saaremaa for 13 months. So it was in 1988, and we all know what happened in history. So of course, this kind of element quickly changed its go. And thinking of the Estonian First Republic time monuments, around 200 of them, only 8 of them survived the Soviet occupation. So again, how many of them gone? And surely now when the Ukrainian war started, then those around 300 monuments which still bear the Sovietic symbols, majority of those is gone by now. Only those stayed which really valued more as an art than ideological or occupants' sign of their power.
Well, you're an artist, so what do you do exactly with these monuments as an artist?
That is actually extremely important and significant question, because when we talk about monument, big or small, it depends on the current power and political situation. There is a commission for that. When we talk about the monument as some kind of genre, like a big genre, which is hijacked from the contemporary artist to the free art level, then lots of things can happen. It's very interesting format. But when we talk about the real monument in the public space, then it's always connected with many layers. The definitely the one who decides what is visible in our public space, which is definitely the political institution, definitely then aesthetical committees, and it has to be secure. I mean, there are so many things. So when you ask what can artists do with a monument, it's quite a complicated question and answer. On the other hand, I think contemporary artist is the most trained agent to deal with this material, because what do we order from the current time monument? What do we want to see there? And then how to deal with all the past. And those are the questions which could be much more actually on the shoulders of contemporary artists.
But if you don't mind me asking, why should a contemporary artist be the person who's determining this, as opposed to, let's say, an elected leader who was elected by the people?
Because artist is an author, and however democratically elected leader you never know the real truth. You can't find a compromise which would please everyone. The art piece cannot be always right or illustration of the very good order, but artists can ask questions, can leave those questions sometimes unanswered. There is so much more flexibility, and also author is representing just one subjective understanding, and thereby can never be wrong, because this is this artist's perception, this artist's vision, that is the reflection of that hard time or good time, and immediately the essence of that work is different, and nobody is declaring an order with such monument.
In Philadelphia, there's a big piece of art that says love. And do you have any two questions. One, do you have any objection to that? And two, if you did have an objection to it, on what grounds would one find an objection?
When artist declares love, I hardly can imagine anybody who would object that, whether this love is available for everyone, or is there percentage of our tax paying that comes along with it, with love. Definitely is not there. But as this is a piece by artist, by our author, it makes us think a lot, and it's a beautiful art piece. Everybody can look at those four letters and think about it. Such artists have been also elsewhere, like for example Dutch artist whose work is about writing the name of certain state in the state's language on the wall of gallery, like Deutschland in Germany, or Eesti in Estonia, or United States of America in America, and the viewer comes and just looks at this letter, and how many different thoughts and associations come along with it. So this is something that artists can do. Nobody can get angry when Estonian president says Estonia. Immediately she or he has a big responsibility, but artists can make us question which kind of Estonia is this. Yeah?
Well, speaking of which kind of Estonia, how about which kind of art? Let's say there's something more abstract, and let's assume there's something that is hard to understand for some people. What do we do about that art? How do we decide whether or not that should be revisited or not?
Oh, it's the abstract art. In some ways, I think it's the most tolerant art at all, because it takes distance from narrative. It takes distance from declaration. It is guiding our attention towards pure form and colors maybe and materials, this kind of minimalistic art. Or it's funny to think that in the Soviet time abstract art was considered provocative and anti government. It was like revolutionary. It was capitalistic in the Soviet time. So lots of discussion and the neglection towards such artists was then up. But I think it's interesting that you say there is abstract art that people might not understand, but maybe this is the first step to tell to the audience of art that they are very free with their interpretations or observations. You might not like it, but that's also very good, because as Duchamp said, bad art is also very important art. It makes us also think about it. It's always art. I mean, if there is intention to do something which might not be liked from the first aesthetical moment that you look at the art piece. But I think this is an important moment when art audience doesn't understand what's there, or maybe even won't like it. It happens to me, of course, always. And that's a trigger. I think I start to investigate what's in me that actually has borders like that I don't like this art, or I don't understand it. So it's a good moment when it happens to you, I think. I would like to think so, at least.
Well, let's talk about that moment, because we started by you talking about some of the monuments that existed in Estonia for a short amount of time, but there are kind of non-political monuments that have existed for quite a long period of time. Do you think they're exempt from being re-explored in contemporary times?
There is not so much art which is not political in the public space and survived, but of course there is lots of art in museums. So yeah, this is funny that actually the age of a painting normally is much longer than the age of like a monument from stone or bronze, because it's not in that active space. I mean, public space should have extremely tolerant and extremely clean surroundings. And when you say that there is in Estonia there is not so much unpolitical art that is around us. This is a new thing, and I think we should move towards it much more in some ways.
Well, what about art that you create now? I know you just had a big exhibit here in Tallinn, but what if, I don't know, 50 or 100 years from now, people re-explore your art and say, well, Kirke was too political, or she wasn't political enough, or she was too to the left or too to the right. Mm-hmm. How would you respond to that?
I would be very, very curious to hear that. When I was a young artist in 2000s, end of the 90s, 2000s, then I think young artists from Eastern Europe was meant to be political, was meant to be almost radical, and had to deal with trauma, had to be politically aware. You wouldn't have any agenda if you did just the beautiful aesthetic forms. And now I think it has changed a lot. A colleague of mine from Malmö Art Academy, she just told me that she is writing together with American colleague a book about how to do political art for her students, because contemporary art students, they necessarily do not want to confront the political situation, which is in a way understandable, because it's not easy to understand what's happening in the world. So many contradictory, confusing changes in any level. So young artists seem to take distance from it quite often. They might even be more active as activist as a citizen, but not that much in art. I personally enjoy very much just an analysis of a theme I'm diving into. This current exhibition that you mentioned, I was dealing actually with Estonian national epic figure Kalevipoeg, which I already mentioned, and questioning what kind of epic hero we need today. So I made a research part, questioning people about it, but also concentrated into one particular Kalevipoeg sculpture, which shows Kalevipoeg after his own sword took his feet away. So it is a hero who has just fallen, and it's very interesting to think that in 1991, I guess the first Kalevipoeg in the Second Estonian Republic time was showed in very, very dramatic and painful moment, but that makes us question about history, I think, quite eloquently.
But let's say somebody does question it in a slightly different way than you've questioned it. How would that person interact with your art?
I have never had really angry reaction towards my personal art. I don't know how I would feel, but maybe not as bad as one could imagine, because any kind of reaction is a start of debate, is a start of discussion, and talking about monuments, when we can use difficult material to make the world better, or maybe have very important monumental discussion out, I think it is worth investing into it.
What about the person who's interacting just tangentially with your art? Are you trying to speak to them at all?
I think artists should be very much ready for any kind of discussion, and that is something that I also try to tell to my students, because I'm also a teacher and the Dean of Fine Arts in Estonian Academy of Art. But that is a big question, like how to face critique as a student, how to face critique as a professional artist, because it is a big part of the contemporary art institution. I mean, this art should be also criticized, it should be critical to itself, it should be not falling into some kind of right format and then stay there, then it would be dead. This is a very natural thing, that art is part of communication. It's very, very helpful part. And I think it is not good when we think, okay, this is good art, let's put a stamp on it, this stays good art, this is bad art, that goes out. It hasn't been so in history and in art history. Those things have been changing constantly. And I think we should embrace this discussion in the category of creative art much more. I do believe that politicians, scientists, they should involve contemporary art values and this potential that it has, this kind of freedom, this kind of homo sacer state of being able to say opinions, to say things without being maybe an expert of certain kind of discourse, and also without being a member of certain kind of party or certain kind of corporation. So this kind of freedom is so useful, and I think we need it more and more every day. When you started this question about how to perceive critique, this is, I think it's in art, contemporary art, main core code that the critique should be always around it, and it can turn against itself, and an author should be ready for that.
But let's get back to the critique of history, as it were. So what we perceive to be the truth today may very well not be the truth X number of years from now. How do the artists in the future, how will they know what is reasonable to critique and what's not reasonable to critique about this era if they haven't lived in this era?
Yeah, that is true. The kind of ethical categories have been changing constantly. But do we not want to think that they still have been changing for better, that there has been a progress in it? So, yeah, sure, when tomorrow can be totally different than it is today from many kind of aspects, from the cultural or ethical, or actually also what art targets. This can be very, very different. But I do believe that some kind of humanly values we have always been perceiving in similar way, also at the dark historical times when lots of people were treated very badly and had no rights. We can think of recent history, like women not having a right to elect and so on. Artists were always the ones to advocate about such changes in society. So I would like to think that those values we have in contemporary art, questioning everything, trying to not be afraid of difficult answers for easy questions and so on. This should guide us still towards better coexisting and more close to the understanding of what being good or living well or living good together means.
And if you could speak for all the artists in the world, and I realize you don't represent all the artists in the world, how do artists around the world interact with each other?
You have so interesting questions. Oh, I think the community of contemporary artists is very much appreciating each other. Of course, it is a difficult profession to survive in because, like also in the whole world, there is a financial layer along all that, and surely how this finance is shared in the art world is quite similarly not that equal as it is also in the world itself. So that is something we should constantly work on. But I think contemporary artist is still sister or brother to the other artist rather than a competitor or rival. And yeah, when I meet with my colleagues from United States or from Scandinavia or from Baltic countries, I feel that they are really close to me, and when people are divided into the countries and ethnic groups and so on, I think this similarity which unites contemporary artists is as strong as a nation or family. It's very important to have each other and to get inspired from each other's courage and creativity, and yeah, it's a nice question.
Well, my next question, and perhaps my last, because I think we're getting close to the end of time, is how do you interact with the political leaders here, if you do at all?
Oh, Estonia wants to praise itself as one of the top countries of liberal speech. So I would say quite freely. We have a cultural endowment which supports by governmental law our art and music and literature and so on projects. And very often we get funding for projects which are actually quite critical politically and so on. So I think in that sense it's quite good. The contemporary art and artist is not afraid of being banned or whatever. This situation is so much gone. I know that it was so different in Soviet time. So there are different artists and there are very different-minded politicians. Sometimes one proves another and the other one doesn't improve, but I would say it is kind of okayish how our political layer and the contemporary art layer are a little bit opposed to each other and then still working along with. Of course, it could go much better because at those times of economical crises, which are a bit around us everywhere on the world, culture is definitely the area which gets damaged much more. When you take small percentage away from the very small budget of art, culture or education, it's a big question. So surely politicians would be clever to use art and not to use the money of art.
Well, fair enough. Well, thank you for your time today. This has been a really interesting discussion. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you. If you would like more information about Kirke and her work, please go to arten.ee. If you'd like to send a note to me at the show, please go ahead and send an email to highereducationtoday@topcolleges.com. And thank you for watching. We will continue to bring you quality discussions about important matters in today's college and university world. I'm Steven Roy Goodman, and you've been watching Higher Education Today.